Independent National Electoral Commission says it's ready to conduct pending elections in Rivers State, fixes December the 10th for the conduct of rerun polls into vacant National Assembly seats for that state. But questions arise over INEC's preparedness for the election. That's our focus tonight on the program. Well, let's start tonight with the INEC stakeholders meeting that held in Abuja. But first of all, after months of intensive planning and wide consultations, the Independent National Electoral Commission has finally come up with a timetable to conduct free, fair, well, that's according to INEC, to conduct pending elections in some states. The states include Lagos and Rivers State, and the Federal Capital Territory. For Lagos State, the Independent National Electoral Commission has slated Saturday, December the 3rd, 2016, to conduct election into the vacant House of Representatives seat. And for the Federal Capital Territory, pending councillorship elections, December the 3rd, 2016, has also been fixed for that election. And the one that all eyes seem to be on, the pending rerun elections in Rivers State into the National Assembly, the Senate and House of Representatives seats. The electoral umpire has fixed Saturday, December the 10th, 2016. Well, just yesterday, the Senate threatened to suspend plenary if the Independent National Electoral Commission did not meet a deadline of December the 10th to conduct elections into National Assembly seats in Rivers State. And a day before then, that was on Wednesday, the House of Representatives had also raised a similar motion on the matters of national urgency, stating that INEC has to conduct elections into the vacant seats in Rivers State, saying that everybody in Rivers State has a right to legislative representation under the Nigerian Constitution. Well, so many reactions have trailed that matter, so many issues have come up, and INEC finally came up today and said, we are ready, we are going to conduct elections come December the 10th in Rivers State. And the issue of security has always been one that INEC has cited as a reason why it's not been able to conclude elections in Rivers State. To shed more light on the matter, I'm being joined from our Abuja studios by the convener, Election Situation Room, Clem Nwankwo. Many thanks for joining us on the program. Mr. Nwankwo.
Thank you, Mana.
You've monitored elections in Rivers State for some time now. What makes Rivers State such a volatile state that INEC over time has not been able to conduct elections conclusively in that state?
Well, the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room was very present in Rivers to observe the elections that did take place there in the 2015 general elections. Rivers State was one of the states that we had raised concern about the conduct of the election in terms of the massive concerns we had on violence. We had also raised concern with a few other states, of course. But with Rivers, the tension, the violence, the threats, the insecurity of not just INEC officials, but the ad hoc staff that were to be part of that election or were part of the 2015 election was very palpable. So certainly INEC was quite worried, and so have we been, about the tension and the threats, the language between the major contending parties respecting the conduct of elections. And certainly it's a bit of it's even more than a bit of a worry, the tension that was there in Rivers. We do not know today whether that threat, whether that violence remains, or the threat of violence remains. Certainly INEC had made the point that it wanted the major stakeholders to commit to peace, which is perhaps one of the reasons that there's been a delay in getting the elections to go on. Beyond the peace and threats to peace was also the various litigation between the different contending parties that had been going on in the courts. So Rivers is a special concern. Next door to Rivers was Bayelsa. There was huge tension in Bayelsa, but the INEC managed to go ahead with elections in Bayelsa and conclude it. And our hope is that now the major contending parties do understand the need for a peaceful election to hold.
Okay, Mr. Nwankwo, let me put this question to you. Yes, the elections have held in Kogi, Bayelsa, and we just recently Edo State. Thankfully, the elections came and went without much eventuality on the part of INEC. Do you think INEC is ready to conduct free, fair, and credible elections in Rivers State?
We do believe that INEC is ready. INEC has made that point repeatedly, that it would like to go ahead and conclude the election in Rivers. And certainly, given the conditions prevalent during the 2015 general elections and thereafter, I think that INEC was certainly wise to be quite circumspect about going ahead with elections. But certainly those of us who have also been concerned about the situation in the National Assembly and about the non-representation of citizens, a huge population of citizens in the National Assembly, continue to make the point to INEC to find a way to resolve and go back quickly to conduct the elections. I believe that in terms of personnel, that INEC has done quite a bit of a lot of training of officials. Certainly ad hoc officials would need to be retrained where some have disappeared or are no longer available, and all of the other logistics issues, including security, would be something that should be a matter of course for INEC and for the authorities to ensure that the people of Rivers State do get the kind of representation, adequate representation that they require in the National Assembly.
Another important election that was talked about today at the stakeholders meeting was the Ondo elections, and the issue of security was once again raised. Do we see security posing a problem in Ondo State? Should this be a matter that is taken, a closer look should be taken at?
Well, certainly, I think until 2 weeks ago, we thought Ondo was going to come and pass and without incidents. But certainly the rhetorics and the demonstrations on the streets in Ondo in recent days is beginning to give cause for worry. I think that the anger against INEC with respect to Ondo is misplaced. Certainly, INEC has to do what the law says it should do, and where the courts, and that's a major issue at this time, where the courts begin to play a role in elections, as we see with the various contending court orders with respect to Edo, certainly INEC would have to get proper legal advice and take a decision, which is what it has done with respect to who it recognizes, whether it likes it or not, as candidates to stand for the election. But I think the bigger plea would be to the political parties. I think that our politicians are a major cause for concern for this country. The desperation among the politicians, the intrigues and the shenanigans among the politicians is a major threat to the electoral process.
Mr. Clem, let me ask you now, do we foresee a postponement following the issues of security raised? Do we foresee a postponement in the Ondo elections just as we had in Edo State?
Well, I think we must go back to Edo in that sense. Edo, the postponement of Edo in the view of a civil society situation room was uncalled for. We felt that there was not enough sufficient security threats to warrant the advice that was given by the security services to INEC to postpone that election. We do stand by our view on that. With respect to Ondo, we do not see that there is sufficient security challenge. At this time, we're doing a security threat assessment with respect to Ondo, and we do not believe that there is sufficient threat to warrant any postponement of election in Ondo. What is going on in Ondo is essentially a crisis within the political parties, nothing to do with the citizens. And we think that the political parties should put their houses in order and stop threatening the security of the country. If the parties are unable to resolve within their fold how to choose who their candidates should be, then I think it's really very sad for these political parties. But certainly it would seem to us that the people of Ondo want a peaceful election, want a peaceful transition of power from the incumbent to the next government. And we do urge the political parties to put their houses in order. Again, the threats on INEC is uncalled for. INEC basically is reacting to the multiplicity of court cases instituted by these political parties. Unfortunately, the contention for power has shifted to the court arena, and this is quite sad for democracy. The people should be able to make decisions without necessarily getting the courts involved.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Clem Nwankwo.
Miscarriage of justice in what is going on in the parties.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program and sharing your thoughts with us.